looks like a helmet.
I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
This is We Watch Movies.
Today's movie is Alita Battle Angel. Alita Battle Angel is a 2019 action-adventure romance cyberpunk film starring Rosa Salazar, Christoph Waltz, Jennifer Connelly, Mahershala Ali, Ed Skarian, Jackie Earle Haley, and Keenan Johnson. That was my synopsis.
Well, Dr. Ito is salvaging around in the junkyard, and he runs across the upper torso and the head of a cyborg person thingy, and then he puts it in a body, and it ends up being Alita. He names her Alita. And then she finds out she's over 300 years old and has technology from Mars, back when Mars was a thing. Falls in love with a dude, becomes a bounty hunter, plays in a gladiator motorball sport. And then we find out the bad guy is some kind of immortal who lives in the city up in the sky while everyone else is in the slums. And then Hugo dies. And then she becomes champion.
Well, almost.
She got like one more left.
Yeah. And hey, look, sequels.
Well, I'm actually really super curious about this, because I know that this only covers Okay, so this started as a manga series. It was converted.
Which are still books, and the books don't count. But you can talk about it a little bit anyway.
Well, it's like it starts off as a manga series, and then it converts into an anime series, and then they were like, "Hey, we want to take this and turn it into a movie," and then they turn it into a movie. Now, granted, whenever you have a whole lot of story, I wasn't exactly sure how far they were going to take it, if they were going to try and take like each portion of the manga series and just like, okay, here's a movie for this part of the series, here's a movie for this part of the series, here's a movie for this part of the series. If they were only going to do the first series and break it off into like its own little series of movies, because that's interesting enough on its own. I didn't know how they were going to pace it. That's the biggest thing. Because these movies are going to take forever to make, because, James Cameron's involved. So
this one already took forever to make.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
They announced they were making it in 2003.
Yeah.
And then he was working on Avatar, and then working on other Avatars that still haven't come out that he's still working on. And then finally was like, fine, we'll have someone else direct it. And Robert Rodriguez came in and directed it. But it was a long time in coming already.
And so it's an issue where there's so much time involved. I don't know what portions of the story they're actually going to cover within the span of the actors they have. Because there's going to be a point where it's like, oh, it's going to take us like 20 years to get to the next one, and half of these people are going to be dead.
And no one's going to care.
Yeah.
Which is probably what's going to happen with Avatar. But like I think the problem with the way that it ends is like I don't know anything about like this story except what's here in the movie. And so what it feels like is if the movie was 20 minutes longer, we could just have like the end to what we thought was the story that they were telling, because she just needs to win the championship, go up to the thing and kill the guy. Because going to kill the guy is kind of an objective. It feels like it's at least the only thing that we really know. They get sidetracked over here into them being in love and stuff, and they spend a lot of time with that. And so I'm not really sure which it's supposed to be. I said it's one of the things it is a romance film. That's just because it says it here. I wouldn't have thought to say it otherwise. And I don't think they have a very good romance, actually. And it feels like I know, like, you love who you love, and you can't, like, you don't really choose, and it doesn't necessarily make sense. But it kind of seems like she loves him because he's the first boy she ever saw, and then just like and he's kind of like good looking, and that's all the only reason.
Well, I think it starts off that way because that's we get a very strong impression of that just because of like how they're introduced, and then her immediate.
And
like,
she gets a look
interest
on her face like right away.
Yeah.
So,
but I would say the love interest is more or less one-sided because like she really has this infatuation with him, and you can see him kind of reciprocating it. But I feel he's more driven by his goal, so he's mostly oblivious of what she like her actual connection outside of like when she like pulls her heart out. And I don't even know why that's a thing that you can actually do. Like why is your metal body
well,
just be like, hey,
hoses
just
or something?
like,
that scene is dumb. Like, there's a couple of times where something really dumb happens that then the movie treats as if the other characters realize is dumb, but we still had to sit through it anyway, and it's still taking up time. The other one is she gives the impassioned motivational speech in the Hunter bar, which then immediately just gets laughed at. And it feels especially bad because it seems like she knows better than that by then. And she came in like expecting halfway to have to do what she ended up doing anyway, which was beat everybody up and see who was left that would help. But she gives this speech as if because this is what it's kind of it's a tropey kind of story thing, but the story knows that it is, and so it doesn't. I don't know. It just feels like, why are we using time for this? And the heart thing is like, I guess it's there to foreshadow what eventually happens, where she keeps his head alive at the end. But it doesn't really make it better, I don't think. And she's not even the one that has the idea, so it's not like she flashes back to that and was like, oh yeah, I can take my heart out for a minute. That's not even what happens. It's the ex-wife is like, maybe you can, and then we don't see what happens, and then we see what happens after. Well, I guess it's one-sided for large parts of it, but then it becomes important enough to him that then he's gonna like quit hijacking people's parts, and he's trying to get out of the game, and he gets killed because of it, kind of. But it eventually means something to him, and then he dies, right?
Yeah,
like,
he's dead.
He's dead. He falls really, really far, so probably.
Now, granted, I've known about this series for a while. I've read the first part of the series. I've watched it, and I couldn't. We're just gonna say it. I couldn't cry for like the sadness of Hugo, because all of those tears have already been shed years ago, and now what comes with this is because when we watch it in the movie as it played, and they give us this really big emphasis on the factory pipe.
Yeah. Is there some reason you can't sneak inside the factory pipe rather than climbing on the outside? Can you hide in a cargo box and just get sucked up from the I guess it's because you'd have to get into the factory, and the factory has security, but
like I don't remember what it is exactly.
Because I just kept wondering that, like, why can't we just like climb inside? Why do we have to walk up the outside?
But I knew that there were like the rotating blades that drop from the pipes. Because I got to watch a way better and sadder version of her losing Hugo that way. Oh boy, was it sad. And so it's just kind of like
this isn't at all.
Yeah, it's like
I don't
this
care
is
about the relationship or him, because he's kind of being stupid for climbing up the thing and not listening to her when she tells him to get down because there's like other plans.
Because I think the issue with creating a level of attachment to some of the characters is that since things happen so quickly, you don't get this time spent trying to develop an attachment to a character for what you might like or dislike. Just things have to happen very quickly because we have to tell a very large portion of the story within the amount of time slotted to us. I think they do a good job creating Alita as a character from like start to finish. I like how they introduce a lot of the characters, but that doesn't really flow well whenever we get towards the end of the movie. And Zapan is like this prick who we cut his face off, but we only get to see him in like 2.5 scenes total anyways. And I don't know why she didn't just take the blade after she kicks his ass in the bar anyways. She's like, she makes the comment about how he's not worthy of it and then just lets him have it.
Throws it back to him.
Like, you could have just kept it. Like, what's he going to do now? You beat his ass once. You can do it again.
I don't know. I guess there's like, you can't take someone's weapon while they're still alive or something. There's apparently this what are they called?
Hunter warriors.
Hunter warriors. I keep wanting to say hunter gatherer, and I'm like,
yeah, so do I.
Because hunter warrior is an extremely clumsy name for something.
You know, back where I'm from, we just called them bounty hunters.
And I don't think, and they say bounty hunter.
Yeah, because that's their job.
So they know what a bounty hunter is, and they it doesn't seem like, I get, like, warrior kind of seems like they're not at war. They're not in like large scale combat. I guess they're fighting with other people because often the bad guys put up a fight when you go to stop them. But
as one should.
But the hunter part seems like that kind of covers it. And I know that that's not something, you know, I guess you could TM hunter warrior maybe. I don't know if they did when they wrote the story originally, but
warrior.
But it's just like they say it and it sounds like no one would ever say this. No one would ever come up with this and it would actually stick. Or if they did, they would just shorten it. They would just say hunter or something. They, like, even if that's the official name that it says on your hunter warrior ID, just the amount of times people say it as if it's just a thing you can actually say and have it not sound dumb and clumsy.
Well, see, I don't have a problem with it when it's used as a title. You know, it's what's that dude? Like, he's a hunter warrior. What's that? It just means he's a bounty hunter. It's a fancy name. And then you go about it. Like, you're not going to keep calling him that because, it does kind of sound dumb, but it's a title.
Although they do shorten it when they keep talking about the hunter code at the end. They don't say the hunter warrior code every time, at least, because that would be terrible. But the amount of times they don't shorten it was bothersome. So I guess they try to tell us if you don't let people have guns, they're going to find a way to hurt each other anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just like, hey, look, knives and rocket-powered hammer, spear, pickaxe thing. I don't even know what it is.
Pickaxe, thank you.
It's not really a pickaxe because it doesn't have the axe part on the other end. It's just the pick part.
Yeah, it's not even a good pick. It's just like a cone.
It is. It's kind of...
it don't even matter. Like, just watching him just tear
like
shit up with it is
talon kind of shape. Which it seems a little large for him, maybe. Like, it's a little unwieldy for him to use sometimes.
That's what the rockets are for.
I guess. But even still, he's just like, he just holds it there, and it's like, that's a really big hammer thing you have there.
You good? You good?
I guess, does the nurse not know? Because he's keeping the clinic open with his hunter-gatherer money, and she says, like, early at the beginning, and I don't know if it's just to fake us out or what, but the guy pays it, like, gives him some oranges and says, like, he's going to be getting some overtime coming up, he'll pay him for the repairs, and she says if we keep getting paid in fruit, it'll be hard to keep the doors open.
I don't think she knows because she doesn't live in the house.
I guess maybe, but is it like secret who is, like, I mean, people kind of stand around looking at the bounty TV thing on the street, and it doesn't seem like, and most of them are pretty obvious. I guess he's not. He doesn't have.
Well, like, I tell you,
armor
the hunter warrior dudes, like, they know who he is.
Yeah, they do.
That's for sure.
I mean, he even keeps his pickaxe in like a leather case until he gets to where he's going to fight something.
Yeah,
and then he pieces it together, which I thought he was putting together a gun. Because if he was just
Yeah.
going to have a regular weapon,
Like,
why
I'm
do
a
you have
doctor,
to hide it? Everybody
I'm-
else has stuff.
Yeah.
And he's piecing it together secretly after he gets there, and he's hiding it in this case. It's like, why is it not just a gun instead of this hammer thing? Why do you have to hide a hammer? Everybody's walking around with swords and stuff anyway.
Okay, so I would say that. Would you say the first actual act of this movie is him finding Alita, putting her together, and then her discovering who he really is? Because like I want to treat that as just like one whole piece before she starts acting out on her own.
I guess so.
Because-
I'm not sure where the break is, though. I guess it's the alley scene, but then see, the thing is that I think if we break it up that way, I don't think there's really a third act, or there's like part of a third act, but it doesn't, because it doesn't resolve. Then it doesn't, because what is the end of the second of Act 2 then? If the alley fight is the end of the first act,
I would say her finally getting her body.
I guess maybe,
Because
but
I would
then-
say that would be the transition, but like her actually being who she's supposed to be, and then you have like the downhill slope of all this bad stuff, because like now it's focusing on her because she can do more,
Mhm.
and then her
Not
having
much
to, like,
happens after that point, though.
Yeah.
Much more happens before. It felt like I kept thinking of the Power Rangers movie, the new one,
yeah,
because we were spending an awful lot of time. Like the title is Alita Battle Angel, and we spend a lot of movie with her in like his dead daughter's body that is like good, kind of, because she has the antimatter heart or whatever it is, or dark matter heart. I don't remember what they said. But it eventually does break in the fight under the bar. But
break, it gets cut to pieces.
then, well, I mean,
I'll tell you
it
one
starts
thing.
to break before, because she tries
she
to do
gets
the
cut.
kick thing again,
Yeah.
and it kind of breaks the knee. But it
Breaks her hand off. in the
it
dude's
takes
eye.
like 3/4 of the Power Rangers movie for them to actually become the Power Rangers,
Yeah.
and to really see, like, we never even get to see them in the armor until almost the end, because they don't know how to use it yet, and they don't have the feel of it, or they can't think hard enough, or whatever it was. And it's like this too, like, we don't get her as the her that the title and the poster and stuff promises, until so late that almost nothing happens by then, because everything's happened before. And I mean, it kind of feels like to me, like, maybe there is all of this story, and that's fine probably for the anime and for the manga, but when you're making a movie, maybe we can compress some of it down where we actually get to something, because you don't know you're going to make a second one. And it's possible, if they do make a second one,
Well,
it could be a really long time, and we might end up having a Last Airbender problem, where they were like, we're going to split it up the way that the story did, and we're going to do the books, and we made the first one, and it was terrible, and didn't make any money, and so we're never going to get to make the other 3, and so there's nothing to do, and it just doesn't end, and I guess in that case, there's at least a good bit of story there, but there's a lot of them kind of like looking at each other and talking to each other about things that then turn out not to matter, because just people change their minds later. Because he seems like we never even see them talk about she's gonna motorball race. And it seems like up until then, he's been really still
Dr. Ito?
hesitant, even when she has the new body, to be like, yeah, let's not, get involved in anything.
Like, I can't
and then
fix
he's just
this.
there putting the armor on, and it seems okay. And he's just like, all right, I guess this is what you're going to do. And they don't even talk about it, even though they've talked and talked and talked before about how serious it is to not do anything dangerous, or not get involved, or to not fight the bad guys.
Well, I almost feel like there's certain things that they included and things that they should have included. Because I can understand, like, from Dr. Ito's position. He doesn't like motorball because a person who was a motorball player is who killed his daughter. And I can understand that. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it, blah, blah, blah. Moves on, and then I'm guessing we're supposed to see him get closure. From now you have Alita, and now she's kind of growing up, and he's supposed to be there for her. But there's this gap where we don't actually see it. We don't see him kind of getting over that loss.
Yeah, we don't see him come to terms with it. He's
and so like that would have been good. You know, like granted that'd make the movie longer, but I think that would have been a more important kind of scene just for the movie itself. Not so much because, you know, like there's always going to be an amount that you want to take from the original source material and translate it onto the screen. And I think there's some things that could have been cut out because it's not as important.
Mm-hmm.
And then things that you should have put in. Like I didn't need to see anything with, what's his face? With the big hair. He was one of the limb jackers or whatever. The liquidators.
Oh, yeah.
Like half the stuff with them we didn't really need. Like, we only needed enough to see that Hugo was part of a gang, and that's what they did for money. They would go and they would liquidate arms and legs from these people to sell to Vector, and then, like, oh, he does this, and then you move on. But we end up getting about, like, 4, maybe 5 scenes worth of this, and all it really does is it just leads to this extended scene where he's going to quit, but he's got to make this big deal about it and cause a fight, and then that's when Zapan stabs him or starts chasing after him and stuff.
Yeah, which I guess there's no. I mean, I know. I guess it's Iron City or whatever, and it's like, why would anybody bother? But there's no. Like, what do you have to prove? That's like, how do you have to prove that someone is guilty of something before they get a bounty on them? Because there's nothing, like, he doesn't, like, there's no, like, fingerprints on the sword. He doesn't, like, hand him the sword so that it looks like he just killed a guy, said, no, you did it, and then there's a bounty on him.
Well, see, it's not just that. It's not just that. He kills the other guy, and he doesn't blame Hugo for that one. He just kills him.
Yeah.
The guy with the poofy hair. And so, and it's not even an hour in between all this stuff happens, because we're watching Alita do the motorball and then leave the ring after she kicks ass.
Which the announcer guy is like, I've never seen anything like this. And he's just like, after they're out of the stadium.
Yeah.
And he's just still just like yelling excitedly, and he can't believe it.
Like, this is the best motorball ever.
It's like, no, you've never seen anything like this, because now there's no game.
Yeah.
They're outside. Now everybody's sitting in the stadium looking at nothing happening, and he's probably still yelling excitedly. They should have had like a drone camera or something, like follow them out, and the people in the stadium are still watching. So I know that Dr. Ito is a main character, so he's going to notice things that people who are not characters are not. But he's like, that's not what the factory team looks like. And like right away, I mean, he kind of has to use his binoculars to be sure who they are, but no one else is like, hey, those are awfully tough looking, like violent weapon kind of dudes for this tryout thing. That this is not how it goes normally.
Well, see, what makes me kind of wonder about this scene is that, okay, so Vector shows up. He's like, I'm putting a bounty on Alita, $500,000 for whoever kills her. All right, that's good. That's fine. I can expect that some of the people there would be the these bounty hunters, but they make a point of saying that these are some of the old aspect teams or whatever. Like, they've done this stuff before. And they used to be teams, but because there's an odd person out, there's not going to be any teams for this one. But where's the rest of them? Like, you just, like, they act like everyone is brand spanking new. All of these bounty hunters have like never played before, but then they're going to act like, oh yeah, they were teams, but we can't have teams in this game, and no one notices. Like, I
Oh,
can
no one
understand, like,
notices
Ito,
anything.
because, you know, he's our eyes in the sky, if you will. And he
Yeah.
immediately notices that, like, some of them are. But then it's not just some of them, it's everyone. I would have been fine if it was just a few of them. You know, like, oh, there's like half a team over here in the back. There's like another straggler, whatever. Alita's new. And then you have like 6 hunters right there just ready to take her out.
Yeah, if it was just a few mixed in, I mean, I guess maybe it has to be everybody, or then the real factory team would be like, but who are these people?
Yeah.
And so if it's 100% bad guys, then they're all in on it, and so they're not gonna.
No one's
call
going to rat
attention
each
to
other
it.
out. And then they all proceed to get their asses handed to them. Like, immediately. No one even had a chance. Like, she's just dancing around them and kicking everyone's ass, and they're tripping over themselves like they're a bunch of newborns. At that point, it's like, is $500,000 worth it from getting my head just crushed in by this guy's giant tire because he doesn't know how to drive in a straight line? Really? I can't spend $500,000 if I'm dead. And that's what happens to, like, every one of them.
You might die.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they're dead.
No, I mean,
Because-
we witnessed, like, heads.
I mean,
Crushed.
some of them we do see the heads crush, but
I think there was, like, 2 people. I
As
think there was,
long
like,
as
2
the-
people who were still on the track, like, at the very beginning, because she just breaks their bodies up. And then we actually witnessed one of the dudes get his head crushed in.
yeah, well, not by her. It's
No.
like she knocks his head off, and then he's laying there, and he's like, "Oh man!" And then something comes and runs
just-
him
yeah.
over as somebody else. So it's not really her fault, so we don't have to feel as bad about her just murdering people.
Oh, I didn't feel bad at all. I mean, like, I'm all for that self-defense. And, you know, like, even with, like, I'm going to cause this lady to get herself cut in half because I'm just going to yank on the chain and she's going to fly towards me. And this dude over here, he don't know how to aim with his weapons, cuts her. Let me wrap the chain around him, throw it in the grinder, watch his ass get grinded up.
So I guess everybody just signs a "you might die" clause in their "you're gonna play motorball"
Yeah.
contract.
I'm like, because that's the thing is, like, how can she do all of this and these people are dead? Like, she has literally killed these people.
Dead.
And there's no bounty on her for this. But then you can have Zapan go and kill a guy and then cut another guy up and then blame it on somebody and he gets processed, or it's like, oh, Hugo killed this one guy, but this other kid who got cut in half, like he wasn't actually murdered. He just didn't exist. We're going to ignore that.
Yeah.
Like, how does that system even work?
I don't know. I have no idea how the supposed. I mean, Dr. Ito says in the old days there were police, but now the factory makes us do the dirty work. And so it kind of seems like there isn't really a justice system, because it's like Iron City is like one giant slum, because all of the people who are not in the slum are up in the Sky City. And so why would you bother spending time with, you know, trials and evidence and police and stuff? It's just like, we say they did something, now they have a bounty, go kill them. Because it doesn't seem like money really matters anyway, because it's kind of being made up, because where is money coming from? Because they're producing things at the factory to send up to the place where the people with the money already are, but they don't seem to be, like, nobody on the ground is really making any money. So
It looks like no one's actually working at the factories.
see,
Like, that's what it looks like.
It may be like the factory in 9, where it's just like the factory makes stuff and no one's around. But it does seem like from the opening, like, we're gonna fly over the city and then we're gonna go down and we're gonna see the garbage being dumped. Like, it kind of looked like stuff was falling off of stuff, and it may have just been like the way that it was seeing the garbage fall out the bottom, that it seemed like it was part of the city, because I didn't really know what was happening yet at that point.
Yeah.
But it looked like the city wasn't in very good shape, and so and because I didn't know anything at all, there was a period of time where I thought, there's not even anybody up there anymore. Like, there is no, like, rich people in the Sky City for real. It's just fake. It's just everybody on the ground. Like, that's why no one ever goes up. That's why no one ever sees anyone. It just that the factory sends up stuff, and it's like the supply drops in Lost. Like, they're just they just keep dropping because it's like automated and no one knows that there's nothing up there anymore. And so everybody's dreaming about going up there, and they just could, but they just don't know because they follow the rules. Which I was much more interested in than there's a bad guy with special binoculars that can like come into people's brains. Like once that started happening, I was like, okay, I guess. But
well, see that
although at that point I wasn't even sure it still wasn't, because I thought maybe it was like Hugh Laurie in Tomorrowland, where it's like it's just him and like there's nothing worth preserving it for. Like he's just there and he's just continuing to be in charge because he likes to feel in charge, and could just be this one bad guy up there and there's no one else because it's a real big city.
Well, it's like I can't talk about it, but it's like,
because it doesn't happen in this part of the story.
Yeah, like and see, that's the thing. Like that's why I was so worried on how they were going to tell this story in the movie. Now, honestly, the way this movie ends, I'm okay with. I'm okay with it because if they don't make anything else, then we're just kind of left with the whole, you have to continue the fight, and here's the bad guy. But they give us a face for the bad guy, and I think that's the only problem, because now we see Edward Norton with his red hair and then the silly glass goggle thingies, which we could have done without if we're not getting another movie. But it's going to get really crazy, and not in a cool, fun way. Like, there's going to be all kinds of weird things going on in that story, and I don't know how well they're actually going to make this look without people just going, this is dumb. Why are you going to have it? Because, like, even I'm like, oh, we're in the second part. This is okay.
Well, but also, look, it's Edward Norton.
Yeah.
Edward Norton famously doesn't do sequels, really. No. So are we even going to see him if they ever make a second one? Does it matter that he looks like Edward Norton?
And like, even when we hear like Nova's voice, like more directly, doesn't even sound like Edward Norton.
No, because they're trying to keep it from us.
Yeah. Because like, I
guess they learned from Phone Booth, where they thought, well, if you've ever heard Kiefer Sutherland talk, then you're going to figure out that's who it is. It doesn't matter to the story that it's Kiefer Sutherland, because we haven't met his character earlier or anything, but it's just like, oh, that's his voice. He's got a distinctive voice.
Because I was more thrown by the whole, this is Edward Norton, holy shit.
Yeah.
Like I think it was a surprise factor. Like, it doesn't really do anything movie wise, but it's just like, what? That's just how.
No, it doesn't do it. They act like it does something, because he gets this long kind of sweeping around to his face shot, and he takes off the binoculars and he kind of does the smile thing. But it's like, it doesn't, like, we've never seen him before. It's not a reveal. It's not.
Well, I guess technically it is a reveal. It's just not a very effective reveal, because nothing comes from it. We just now get a face to the voice that we've been hearing, or the individual who has spoken before.
Yeah, but
it's like,
it doesn't really matter. Michelle Rodriguez played like the other soldier that trains her in like the Ender's Game flashbacks and the
really.
Yeah, it's hard to tell that it's her, but it's like
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like those scenes.
I actually kind of did, just because it was like, oh, here's because it's like world building kind of stuff, and like I tend to like world building. And I know I'm sounding like Kenny now, and what was the Will Smith movie we didn't like?
What?
Bright.
Yeah, Bright. Well, I like world building, but it's like, here we're gonna do this, and then I'm gonna pull my bow staff in half, and it's gonna have a blade, and it's like, you have to ask yourself, what are you not seeing? And then they just turn, and it's immediate propaganda. Like, you don't have to be like, look at this face, you have to kill this person. And then immediately go back. Like, that was really dumb.
Well, that was dumb.
That was dumb.
I didn't like that. I liked seeing the world before.
Yeah, like the rest of the flashbacks are really cool.
And the war, I liked the war too, because
the shit on the moon, that was tight.
It was, because for a long time it's just like, before the war, things were different, and it seemed like this was going to be like and because they start out like, we get text on a screen, it gives us a date, and then says something about after the fall. And it's like, but what's the fall? We don't know what the fall is. And then people refer to it commonly as the fall. And then eventually we find out that there was a war. And then eventually we find out it was a war from people on Mars.
Oh, that's going to get even more interesting.
But which are still like people, right? Like there's
Yes.
not like it's not Martians or something.
No.
It's people left Earth, went to Mars, and then decided let's go take over Earth.
Well,
and
let me see if I can
Didn't
recall a
quite.
whole bunch of stuff from a long time ago. But I don't remember it actually being about taking Earth over.
well, good because they don't take Earth over.
No.
They drop the cities, and then it seems like, and then they actually stop trying because the war ends, all the other cities fall, and then in the morning that particular city was still in the air, and then there's no war anymore. But it's like, but there's still a city to kill. Like, why didn't you try again?
Okay, so I'm gonna butcher this all kinds of.
I mean, you don't really have
Sideways.
to explain because it's not in
like
the movie. But
no, it's like because like this is like from what I can remember, the people, there's like something that's worse than Nova that is now currently on what's its face floating island city thing, and it's like one of those like Nova is only a mini boss kind of ordeals.
then why not just deal with him in this movie? Why do we have to do it later?
Because
why can't we just kill him and then next time
he
crazy
don't
things
die
can happen?
technically he does die, but there's no solid death here. There's no solid death. There's going to be a lot of Nova, but it ends up, if please remember this correctly, Mars attacks because of Thing, and the Thing is now only left on said floating city. And then after some time, Mars comes back. But not like as, ooh, we're major military force. It's more like if you were to take like the Shredder and the Foot and then have them attack like Skeletor and his group of just bad guys. It's like, we're not talking about like mass armies funded by like a total nation. It's just like, here's a group of people and here's a group of people, and they're going to try and destroy each other because they don't like each other. And here's Alita, and here's Nova, and here's like all of this other stuff in between. And there you go. There's a story. Lord, I hope I remember that right.
I don't know.
Because like, even though Mars wasn't taking over or something like that, like it's not like, oh, I'm Alita, I was from Mars, I'm going to help them. They're like, there's none of that.
Well, then, so like people went off to Mars and then they invented all this technology and people on Earth didn't. And like, we can't even figure it out.
Well, we don't even know if we didn't have it or not. It's just like, there's nothing left.
I guess.
Because like, even look at the stuff that Earth, because like Earth obviously fended Mars off.
Earth. Well,
and
barely,
so you're going to tell me that like, okay, well, Mars didn't win. We have like one ship that's over here, and we have our technology, but the fall was so bad that it kind of reverted us. But there's not even any Earth advanced technology left at all, unless of course it's up on the island as well. But of course,
which it might be, but
the island, the city.
The
But, it's just
Island
one of
in
those
the
things
sky.
where like we're not there yet.
So what is it? It's the Tom Cruise movie called Elysium, where there's like the people on the sky city and
No,
then the
that's
people on the ground.
I think it's Matt Damon.
Matt Damon. Well, no, there's
Elysium.
I think it's, well, Matt Damon might be Elysium. What's the Tom Cruise? Because it's a Deep Impact Armageddon thing. There's like two like people on sky cities and poor people on the ground movies that came out the same year.
Now,
one of them is Matt Damon and one of them is Tom Cruise.
Now I know the Tom Cruise movie around that time was Edge of Tomorrow, but that was
before that. It's like it's the big movie that he made before Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh, Oblivion.
Oblivion, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a Sky City thing too? Because I haven't seen either of those movies, but I kept thinking of them.
No, it is not, and you should.
Is it not?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not.
Did they try to tell us it was before it came out or something? Like, why do I remember it that
like,
way?
Elysium is like, it's very obvious.
Elysium is, yeah.
But Oblivion is more like humans and aliens. Just like Edge of Tomorrow, only without the grand scale war scenes. Think of Book of Eli, but with Tom Cruise and not blind, and then like space technology. There you go.
Not blind.
So not Book of Eli. There you go. Oh, what else do I have to say? Oh no, see, there's the thing.
I know there were like 3 things that I remember thinking, remember to talk about this, and I'm pretty sure I haven't talked about them yet, and I don't remember what they are. So I'm gonna remember them after we record and be like, that's the thing! I was gonna talk about the thing. I like his hat.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. He's not talking about my hat. He's talking about Dr. Ito's hat, and it's a nice hat.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's a nice coat too.
Okay, so one of the things that I do like is when a movie shows us things so we know, but the characters do not know. It's like they don't magically get the information the audience gets. I like that. And so we get one of the women murdered. Alita sees the thing that says 6 women murdered. We actually get to see the weapon used to murder said woman. She suspects Dr. Ito. He doesn't say anything, but he goes out, and one night he gets hurt, and he comes back. Another night she decides to trail him. We get to see Ito pull his rocket-powered pick hammer thing and put it together, but as the audience, we know what the weapon looks like, and we know it's not it. But Alita don't know that. And so, like, that whole scene, how it's like set up from that kind of tension build up, I like that, even though it's not like a tension release. You know, it's like we know it's not him, but she does, or she thinks. And so we get to see like the tension on her side, him trying to do his job. We see this woman, we don't know who she is, and then it's just like, oh no, it's a trap. And then just bam, we get like an action scene, and she's like some kind of freaky kink monster with scythe hands and tinkle, like just like a spider on the ground. Surprised she doesn't have like metal teeth.
Yeah, there even is a like when she's up on the wall during the fight where there's a like it's very spider imagery like. Apparently it's just called the Rocket Hammer, which is not like it doesn't have like a proper name. People just refer to it as the Rocket Hammer. Rosebud.
No. Rocket Hammer. With literally a rocket on the back of it.
There is, yeah.
Now, granted, I'm about to say something unrelated. In Fallout, you can have like hammers with rockets on them, but just because it has a rocket on it doesn't mean it swings any faster. I don't understand that.
I mean,
it's got a bloody rocket on it. It should be really fast.
It should, yeah. Well, with his rocket hammer, it's just because it's like he's a regular guy, but he's fighting people who have like robot arms and stuff, like, and so he needs to hit really hard, like harder than he can hit with his actual arms.
And surprisingly enough, he knows how to tear it up. Like he looks kind of old at this point, and he's still kicking ass, even though he's outnumbered. And then of course, Alita shows up, and she's like, what would they call it, Panzer Hunts or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like I don't even know why that name, but okay. And then like she starts tearing it up. That was cool to watch.
Yeah, he's older. Like apparently in the books and stuff, he's supposed to be in his like 30s or 40s, but Christoph Waltz is in his like early 60s.
Yeah,
so
he's a good actor.
They went. He's a good actor. He's really straightforward in this too. Like he doesn't go like Christoph Waltz crazy at any point, even though he has a rocket hammer. So
that's saying something.
He's really restrained, and he is a good actor.
Oh Lord, see, like I keep having these tiny little thoughts, and then they just poof.
I mean, there were little things like he has to show his ID to get into the like bounty headquarters. But then she just walks in and doesn't have to like get the doors open. Like they're aiming guns at her as she walks through.
Yeah, as I say, because there is a difference when they come through. Yeah, well, like obviously you got to get in to get registered.
I know, but why is it like, oh, I'm coming in to register? We're just going to point guns at you
because we don't know why you're there. No, the thing is, like, he does the badge at the door. They know he's coming in. We got a registered hunter coming in, and they're just like, all right, here you go, bro. Just walk up to the counter, turn your bounties in, get some cash. But like when she goes in, they don't know why she's there, and then she's like, hey, I want to register, and I'm sure, off screen, she's turned some bounties in herself and they didn't have to point guns at her then. Now, the guns, thank you, because you keep reminding me of the things I want to talk about.
Uh-huh.
The guns, they say they've been outlawed. It's completely illegal, and if you're found with one, you're immediately executed. Okay.
That seems like the punishment for basically everything, though, so it doesn't even seem like that big a deal. You get executed.
The sentry bots, like, they just mow down the entire street. But what I do not get is that even though you have Ito and then like all these other people who are really good with like the actual mechanics, why has no one developed some kind of like little mini launcher? Because like they have like almost just Molotov cocktails as hand grenades. It's just like click button, throw it, it just catches on fire. You have those. Why doesn't anybody have like, let me just like have this tiny catapult looking thingy on my wrist. I can fire an electric taser at somebody just like the liquidators do. Their only difference, excuse me, is that they hit them with chains first, tie them down, and then just point blank electrocute them. Why isn't someone developed like, oh, I can take this, and then like slingshot it, and hey, look, you have a lot of mechanics on you. It's just gonna shut you down.
Well, it does kind of seem like maybe we're asking kind of, I guess it's kind of like Iron Giant-y sounding, but like, what does it mean to be a gun?
Yeah.
Because the guy has his like, he could shoot out the like chain spike claw things from his hands. That's kind of a gun. I mean, you bring it back in afterwards, but like, does that mean a harpoon is not a gun? Like, what is a gun and what's not a gun? Because that's like the closest thing besides what the sentries have to something that you don't have to just walk up and hit someone with. But it seems like it's okay to have. Now, it's supposed to only be okay to have, I guess, because he's playing the sport. Even though I don't even know like if it's legal to have in the sport or not, because people are kind of like, hey, he's got this, no one's ever done anything like that before, and then they have to steal his actual hand in order to give it to the other guy, so they can't just make one on their own somehow.
Well, like, I don't know if they can't make it or if it's just going to take too long and they're like wanting results immediately. But even past that point, I kind of feel what is a gun would just be something that can fire projectiles across a good distance at a fast rate.
Is a crossbow a gun?
Maybe.
Like,
but
we need to see the text of this law, I guess, to understand like what exactly is outlawed.
Because like I'm just talking about like a wrist-mounted slingshot
gun.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like there's like, my bounty right there.
Seems like it is.
He could kick my ass, but it's okay. I have this wrist-mounted slingshot with like an electric taser thing on it. I'm just going to tag his ass from over here, watch him writhe on the ground, cut his head off because I'm done, and I'm going to go collect the bounty. Thank you very much.
It's like we didn't use catapults because we really thought they were cool or something. It's like we just hadn't, like we really wanted cannons. We just hadn't invented them yet. So yeah. It's basically a gun, I think. So they seem to have weird laws.
That'd be hilarious. Like, like opens up his leather bag and it's not a rocket hammer. It's just a silly slingshot with like some electric pebbles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked about the Butter Battle book. Like, you can have some heavy duty slingshot type devices
powered by elephants.
I mean, if the thing you fire out of the slingshot explodes afterwards, then
I mean, at that point,
are bombs outlawed? Like, I don't know.
I mean, obviously, these kids are running around with like grenades.
Yeah.
Because it's one step away from being a grenade. What those kids have are literally one step away from being a grenade. The only difference is when it hits, it catches stuff on fire. What happens when you replace the chemicals inside that and it goes kaboom?
That's not a grenade. That's a baby. Say what now?
I mean, napalm is a weapon.
Yeah.
It's not a gun, I guess, but...
Their robot bodies don't seem to be as bothered by fire, which is weird because like their insides are still supposed to be human.
Well, to a lesser extent, I think, and often because
his
even
face
though
is fleshy, I guess,
but just the front, like it's just the outside because then like they cut into it and it's all like robot parts behind it.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're just gonna take your face and we're gonna like stretch it over this robot skull. And now that's your face. Which I don't know if that's what hers is or not, or if it's just like, are we supposed to believe that just like the part that looks like skin is, except it's not because he says it's a total replacement. It's just there's a brain inside because it's like the eyes
it's just
are like
her brain,
oversized and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, her brain is like all that's really left.
It just happens to be skin colored.
Which becomes a thing in the second thing. Stop it. Okay. Moving on. How do we feel about the visual effects? Because I'm going to give it a perfect score because there's nothing in it that I don't like.
No, I don't think there was anything in it that wasn't
like. I don't. And she's adorable. Like the big sugary eyes and the cute face. Like it just I wanted to hug her. You know. It's like give her a hug, pat her on the head, give her a sucker, and then go talk to Ito because my hand's not working correctly. Like for some reason, I keep flipping my neighbor off. I can't even control it anymore. Help me.
Yeah, and I'm not sure because there isn't very much information except that because James Cameron is James Cameron. Of course, originally he wanted to make her an entirely CG character, which seems extremely unnecessary. And it's not what they did, but I don't know how much of it is. So I don't know if like parts of the face are real and then we just like altered the eyes and then most of the rest is real or what. But now do you think, I guess they're doing the eyes because probably it's what the drawn character looks like because anime eyes. Yeah. But
her, other than like some of the ridiculous, cybernetic components that you see on the characters, like I know someone's going to argue with me, but I would say she does look really close to the drawn depiction comparatively, because there are going to be there are characters who are in it that look like you would expect a normal human drawn, and then she stands out. And so that comparison between these look like normal people and then she looks like really different, like that matches. So I would say, yeah, she looks like she should.
But do you think because the eyes are something that's unreal, that it makes it easier for us to not fall into uncanny valley about it because we're not comparing it to what it would look like if it was a real person, because real people don't look exactly like that. So like, does it let them get away with something?
Well, because I'm not sure what they're actually getting away with, though.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they didn't have the eyes, you wouldn't really have to get away with anything. So they're making a choice to have to do some of it convincingly without just using a person's face. Now, stuff like this typically doesn't bother me anyway. I mean, the Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One didn't bother me, and like the last time it bothered me, which I've probably said before, was Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy, young Jeff Bridges and Clue Jeff Bridges, because we were just not quite there yet, and there are a couple of times where they just get a little too close and don't they don't quite pull it off. But mostly since then, none of it has really bothered me, even when it's bothered other people. So it wasn't that likely to bother me anyway, and it also doesn't. but all of the cyborg stuff and the all of the motorball stuff, like the full scale, like death race kind of stuff in the actual stadium, like all that, they pull off really well. And
well, I know we've made comment when talking about like Transformers,
Battle on the Moon, and only the first one.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying like it's easier to make a convincing like machine.
It's easy to do metal
like
than it is to do people. But
and I think
but
that's
they're doing a lot of mixing, though. Yeah. They're doing a lot of putting flesh on metal. So,
and I think that's what they really do a great job of, because it's very convincing.
Because almost everybody has actual heads, or at least partial actual heads. So,
well, let's see. There's that, and the only thing I can say would be when we see these people's heads, I can kind of understand how they did the makeup effects, if there are real makeup effects.
I think there are, in at least some cases.
Because there's like some of this stuff where it's like, I don't see the reason for, okay, we got to put all of this stuff on this person's head so we can have it mapped and then remove it and replace it with some kind of CG, when there's not enough of it being used to warrant that. Whenever you can just like, here's this, we're going to put it on your head. I got this person doing makeup. We're going to make some touch-ups. All it is covering up an eye and then like half your forehead. It looks like a helmet.
Yeah.
Or this part is going to go on the side of your head or on the back of your head. There's not a huge amount that needs to be done. It just looks like some kind of attachment. And then I would say something towards the opposite portion of that would be like how you would have a Zapan, and like the back of his head was the robotic, but it was his face. He had his chin, his face, like the upper portion of his head, stuff like that. And I can understand, okay, well, for that, you might want to have more CG just because it has to look like the flesh covered it. Not so much the machine covered the flesh. Like you did, because like the first guy that we see who's like, like paid with oranges, like him, like that's what he looked like. Here's a dude, we're going to put this on your face. We're going to put this on your shoulders. The rest of your body's just going to be in a green suit. There you go. It's going to be really easy. Just perform. Like that's what he looks like.
Yeah. And I think there was a lot of, even with her body, especially if it's like something close where like their hands are going to touch, or that a lot of the time it is some like physical thing.
Yeah.
Because it looks like it is. Not like I can tell when it's a physical thing and when it's not kind of way, but just that it looks like there's no reason to try to fake this. You could just make a prop arm or something.
And you're going to get a better scene that way.
Yeah. Even just for like, if she's going to like hold hands with Hugo or something, if you can have a hand that's actually like he can touch and stuff, it's better.
Yeah.
It's better for everyone.
Now, I don't know how much is, I guess you'd say actually crafted and then used on set compared to like the CG aspect of it. But the first body that she receives, like the detail in all of those ivory looking pieces is amazing.
Yeah, there's all like scrimshaw carving kind of stuff in it. And
it is quite the legit. Okay, so we got the body, got the hunter warrior dude. Oh, the guy with the dogs, yeah.
He's not in it much,
no,
but he's fun while he's there.
He's not a dog person. I wished he was.
Yeah.
Oh, I think, what was it? This movie takes place in Kansas? I think that's where it's at.
Does it?
Yeah, okay.
Did they tell us that?
No. It's like a manga thing.
Oh. I mean, because Iron City's a made-up place.
Yeah.
And we never really, we go outside like one time and it's
Illinois?
Just sort of like, it doesn't really look like Kansas.
I mean, it's like several hundred years into the future.
Yeah, but
I don't even think that's a debating point.
There's not, when they go outside of the city, it doesn't look like Kansas, and that's still just open country and whatever.
It doesn't look like Kansas anymore. Got him. I don't want to waste my time looking it up. It's like the whole thing takes place in the States.
Seems kind of odd.
Yeah. Now, let's see here. I'm not including like the Japanese made live action movies that you can watch on Netflix. But of all of the movies that were based off of a manga and or anime, I think this might be the best one.
So how do we feel about stars?
I want to give it a really strong 4. Like, I want to give it a weak 5.
Well, you liked it a lot more than I did.
Yeah. Because it's one of these things where, like, I know the story, but I'm not sure if they told the story in the way it should have been told. But I enjoyed everything that I saw. Like, I like the interactions. I just feel there was things missing from it. So I'll give it a strong 4.
Well, I think there are a lot of individual moments that work and some that don't. But it doesn't seem to add up to very much, or like the things that work just kind of like they work on their own, but they don't really add to each other. And it doesn't really, like, it doesn't feel like there's much of a movie or much of like an entire story. It just kind of feels like, oh, here's some moments. Those were kind of nice. And I don't know what we were trying to do here. So, I mean, it's not like it's fine and it's enjoyable enough, I guess, but it doesn't really, like, I'm going to give it an like unqualified in like a cheatery kind of way 3. Because like I feel like it's fine. But I mean, and it should do something for me. Because it's like people inside robot bodies and like dealing with stuff and you know, world building sci-fi and rich people and poor people, and like there's all this stuff that should do something, but it just doesn't, because it's just kind of like, here's the thing, and it doesn't really add up, or it never really added up to me. And I don't care about the romance in this form. Now, it might be better in the anime, but I don't feel like they did a very good job of making me care about them caring about each other.
I might end up buying this one. Probably not right when it comes out, because I don't know how they're going to handle this. Because I keep thinking of it as like, oh,
I'll eventually have to buy it too, because it's Robert Rodriguez and there's a shelf. So,
see, well, I'm thinking on the line of, I don't know like how much. Okay, so
how fast I buy it will depend on how much special feature kind of stuff there is.
Yeah.
Because I'm more interested in them making it than really watching it over.
Now, see, okay, so I remember when Avatar came out, and then you had like the DVD and you had the Blu-ray of Avatar. And then like a period of time,
like the Earth Day ones that they rushed out and had nothing on them and were terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was like some time later, they're like, okay, here's you like the mega James Cameron one. And it's got everything. And it's like 2 inches thick.
It is. Yeah.
And it's like, and you can get it like on Blu-ray.
It's a really nice edition.
I bought it.
But you don't like Avatar.
I like stuff about Avatar. I just think the movie overall is dumb. But I have a habit of buying stuff like that. And so I'm wondering, like, okay, how deep are your fingers inside of this, James Cameron? And is something like this going to happen for this movie? If not, I would like to see what's going to be on the nice edition of this, and I might buy it.
Well, I do wonder if we're going to get a James Cameron release. Or no. A James Cameron DVD or a Robert Rodriguez DVD, because those are typically different things. Because while we have really extensive editions of both, they tend to lean in kind of different ways. And often, in order to get the big super special one, we have to wait a long time. Like the Titanic edition that has all this 4 discs and has all the stuff on it was way later, like just a few, I mean, it's several years ago now, but relatively recently, considering it's a 20-something year old movie.
Yeah. It released closer to now than it
closer
did when
to
it
now
came
than
out.
to when it came out. Yes,
Yeah.
and
Like
and the big special Avatar one, and the in the quadrilogy and or anthology Aliens one. All of that stuff is later. And Robert Rodriguez tends to, like, he does commentaries, which Cameron doesn't do, and he does like his 10-minute film school things, and he does like a Robert Rodriguez movie on DVD or Blu-ray is a particular thing, and usually they're like really good, even though they may not be 4 discs or something like the Avatar one or the Titanic one. And the commentaries thing is, because I like commentaries, is that's one of the things that just Cameron is like, nope, not doing commentaries. And it's like, but James Cameron, talk to us. Like, it'd be so interesting to listen to you talk. And we just won't do it. Spielberg won't do it either. Which is also frustrating because he's also interesting to listen to talk. So I'll be interested to see what kind of edition we get. If we get, because right now it's supposedly cost something like $200 million to make, but only about 170 of that is the actual like producing it cost, because it's been in production sort of and development for so long. It's kind of like a Star Trek the motion picture kind of thing, where you could tack on all this extra years of development that you can't really blame on the actual movie that got made just because it took so long. And it's made about 265 right now. It's been out 3 weeks, something like that. So
from my understanding, like, it's already made like a beast amount of money over in like China.
Yeah, probably.
Which, I kind of feel is expected. Well, it's like a movie comes out, and I know I make jokes about pandering to China, and it's like, if there's like a good Chinese presence in a movie and it warrants it for a storytelling purpose, I don't have a problem with it. This doesn't have that issue at all, but it's just like, here you go, it's a movie. You don't have any idea where it's actually taking place geologically on Earth, so
geographically,
whatever.
It's not in rocks and
it's like it's inside the magma of the planet.
No. 265 is the total. Only about 62 of it is here.
Yeah.
So
like
even
I said,
with the worldwide, it's made more than it costs, but not a ton more. So we'll see.
Yeah. But
which isn't even necessarily
like Venom did good.
Not here, did it?
No. I'm not saying, like, I'm talking about just in general. Like,
Oh.
it made lots of money. So when one of these companies decide they want to make a movie and then they ship it over to China and it makes a whole lot of money, like, I'm kind of glad for them, because it's like, hey, we took a gamble, we made a movie, we made profit, even though it wasn't completely in the States, but at the same time, like, it kind of helps push movies forward. Because, like, I like, anyone who ever listens to us knows, I'm looking forward to the new Godzilla movie. I do not expect them to make the entire amount back that they spent making this movie in the States alone. No. I expect them to make all of it back and a profit worldwide, but I feel that's what's necessary to keep this kind of franchise going. Where it's like, hey, we're going to make this movie, it's going to be great, we're going to play it in the States, we'll probably make like half of it back in the States, and then we're going to make like double, almost triple of what that is overseas or something, which is fine.
Venom 213 here, 641 elsewhere.
So that's like, what, 3 times?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, there you go.
55 total.
Like, that's...
It made a ton of money, just not here.
It made a ton of money.
it made a fair amount here. It only cost 100, so they made double back just here.
Hey, that's even better.
Made a lot elsewhere, which is kind of cheap for a
movie,
big superhero, or I guess villain, whatever, comic book movie.
Yeah, comic book movie.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know if it looks expensive or not. But
I bought it. I haven't been buying a lot of movies lately, but like I do feel like I'll pick up Alita when it comes out.
Headline: Fox's Alita leads worst President's Day weekend in 15 years. So you're not buying any movies, and no one's going to see movies on President's Day this year. And that's all we have to say about Alita Battle Angel. We'll see you next time.
Later.
That's not a grenade.
You might die.